My phone buzzed at 6:23 a.m. on a Tuesday. I stared at the screen, not recognizing the number. Manhattan area code. My coffee sat forgotten on the counter as I answered. "Is this David Sullivan?" A woman's voice. Professional, careful, speaking. "This is Margaret Chen from Morrison and Associates. I'm calling regarding the estate of Linda Marie Sullivan." She paused. "I'm sorry for your loss, Mr. Sullivan. Your ex-wife passed away last Thursday." The kitchen floor seemed to tilt. "Linda dead." I gripped the counter. "Mr. Sullivan, I'm here. There will be a reading of the will this Friday at 100 am, and our offices are in the Morrison Building, suite 1840. You're named in the estate." I almost laughed. After 12 years of silence, Linda had left me something in her will. The woman who'd filed for divorce while I was still in county jail awaiting sentencing. Who'd made sure our daughter Emma never visited, never wrote, never forgave. "Will my daughter be there?" I asked. "Emma Sullivan." "Yes, she's been notified." I hadn't seen Emma in 12 years, not since the trial, not since she was 16, and looked at me in that courtroom like I was a stranger who'd stolen her father's face. "I'll be there," I said. After I hung up, I stood in my small kitchen for a long time. The apartment wasn't much. A studio in Queens, rent-controlled with a view of a brick wall. But it was mine, paid for with honest work, freelance architectural drafting, mostly residential additions. Nothing like the corner office I'd had at Sullivan and Morrison Architecture before everything fell apart. I pulled out my phone again and searched for Linda's obituary. There it was in the Times. Linda Marie Sullivan, 54, CEO of Vertex Technologies, died Thursday after a 2-year battle with pancreatic cancer. 2 years. She'd been sick for 2 years, and I hadn't known. The obituary mentioned Emma, of course. Survived by her daughter, Emma Sullivan, marketing director at Vertex Technologies. It mentioned her parents in Portland, her sister in Boston. There was a photo. Linda at some tech conference, silver-haired and elegant in a black suit, looking exactly like the woman I'd fallen in love with 30 years ago. There was no mention of me. 12 years was long enough to be erased, apparently. I sat down and let myself remember. It was October 2013. Vertex Technologies was 6 months from their IPO. Linda had built the company from nothing, a small cybersecurity startup that had grown into a major player. The IPO was projected to raise $800 million. We were going to be rich beyond anything I'd imagined. Then the SEC started asking questions. I was at the office when Linda called. "David, I need you to come home now." Her voice had that edge it got when something was very wrong. I left a client meeting and drove home to our house in Pacific Heights. Linda was in the kitchen, pale, with her laptop open on the counter. "What's wrong?" "James has been stealing from the company." James Chen, our CFO, Linda's college roommate's husband, the man who'd been with Vertex since the beginning. "How much?" $3 million over the past 2 years. She showed me the spreadsheets, phantom consulting fees, inflated vendor contracts. It was sophisticated, hidden in the complexity of our growth, but once you knew what to look for, it was obvious. "We go to the SEC," I said immediately. "David." Linda closed the laptop. "If this comes out now, it kills the IPO. Everything we've built gone. Every employee who's been with us, who's counting on their stock options, they lose everything. Our investors will sue. The company will collapse. So, what do you want to do?" "James says he'll pay it back. All of it. He's already started liquidating assets. If we can fix the books before the SEC audit, no one has to know." I should have said no right then. Should have insisted we go to the authorities. But I looked at Linda, at the woman who'd worked 18-hour days for 8 years to build something real. And I thought about Emma's college fund tied up in Vertex stock. "How long do we have?" I asked. 3 months until the audit. James says he can have most of it back by then. 2 months later, James Chen disappeared, took what was left of the money and vanished. The SEC showed up a week after that. I was the one who'd signed off on the consulting contracts. My name, my signature, my authorization as COO. Linda had been traveling, closing deals, building partnerships. I'd been running day-to-day operations. The SEC agent sat across from me in a conference room. A lawyer I couldn't afford on one side, Linda on the other. "Mr. Sullivan, these payments were approved by you." "Yes." "For services that were never rendered." I looked at Linda. She was staring at the table, her hands folded. "We had a daughter starting junior year of high school. We had a future that was supposed to include a house in Napa, travel grandchildren someday. The payments were legitimate when I approved them. I said I was deceived by the vendor. The SEC didn't buy it. Neither did the U.S. Attorney's Office. Wire fraud, securities fraud, embezzlement. They offered me a deal, 7 years if I plead guilty. Named my co-conspirators, helped them recover the money. There are no co-conspirators, I told my lawyer. It was me. I was stupid and greedy, and I got caught. Linda sat beside me when I signed the plea agreement. She didn't touch my hand. I'll make sure Emma's taken care of, she said quietly. I know. I'll keep the company alive. The IPO might still happen if we can contain this. You should divorce me, I said. Protect yourself. Linda looked at me for a long moment. I'll do what I have to do. She filed 3 weeks later. By the time I was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison, the divorce was final. The house in Pacific Heights sold to pay my legal fees and the restitution order. Linda got full custody of Emma, which I didn't fight. The last time I saw my daughter was at the sentencing hearing. She sat in the gallery with Linda's parents. When the judge read the sentence, Emma stood up and walked out. She was 16 years old and her father had just been branded a thief. I served 5 years with good behavior. When I got out in 2019, I moved to New York. Linda had stayed in San Francisco with Emma. I sent letters to my daughter. They came back unopened. I sent birthday cards. Same thing. After the first year, I stopped trying. I rebuilt what I could, got my architecture license reinstated after 3 years, found work, made rent, survived, and now Linda was dead, and I was going to see Emma again. Friday morning, I took the subway to Lower Manhattan. The Morrison building was new glass and steel, the kind of place I used to design. The elevator was smooth and silent, rising to the 18th floor. Suite 1840 had Morrison and Associates in bronze letters on frosted glass doors. The receptionist checked my ID and led me to a conference room. Emma was already there. I stopped in the doorway. She'd been 16 the last time I saw her. All angles and braces in anger. Now she was 28 and she looked so much like her mother it hurt to breathe. Same dark hair pulled back, same sharp intelligence in her eyes, same way of sitting very still. That meant she was furious. Emma, I said. She didn't look at me. Margaret, can we start? The lawyer, Margaret Chen, gestured to a chair across the table from Emma. Please, Mr. Sullivan, we're waiting for one more person. I sat down, tried not to stare at my daughter. Failed. How have you been? I asked quietly. Emma's jaw tightened. Don't. My mother made me come here. That's the only reason I'm in the same room as you. She finally looked at me. You destroyed our family for money. You destroyed her company, her reputation, everything she built, and then you took a plea deal to save yourself. Emma, that's not I don't want to hear it. I don't want your excuses or your explanations or your apologies. Her voice was cold, controlled. When this is over, you'll walk out of here with whatever crumbs my mother left you out of pity, and I'll never have to see you again. Before I could respond, the door opened. A man in his 60s entered well, dressed, vaguely familiar. Daniel, Margaret said, standing. Thank you for coming, Daniel Rodas, my old partner at Sullivan and Morrison Architecture. We'd started the firm together 20 years ago. Before Vertex, before everything, I'd had to sell him my shares to pay for lawyers. David, he nodded to me, not unfriendly. Then to Emma, I'm sorry about your mother. She was remarkable. Emma smiled at him. Genuine warmth. Thank you for coming, Uncle Daniel. Uncle Daniel, of course. Rhodes had been Linda's mentor, her confidant. The one who'd bought out my shares for more than they were worth. Who'd made sure I had something to restart with. I hadn't spoken to him in 12 years either. Now that everyone's here, Margaret said, opening her briefcase. Linda's will is straightforward in most respects. The bulk of the estate goes to Emma. There are specific bequests to charity, to Linda's parents and sister, and to you, Mr. Rhodes. She pulled out several documents. The estate is valued at approximately $210 million. I heard Emma inhale sharply. Even knowing Vertex had done well after the IPO, I hadn't imagined that much. Emma receives the primary residence, all personal property, Linda's shares in Vertex Technologies, and the investment portfolio. This amounts to roughly $160 million after estate taxes and specific bequests. Margaret slid a document across to Emma, who stared at it like it might explode. Mr. Rhodes receives $5 million and Linda's art collection in gratitude for his friendship and guidance over the years. Daniel nodded. Linda discussed this with me. I'll make sure the art finds good homes. And Mr. Sullivan. Margaret turned to me. You receive a specific bequest of $50 million with conditions. The room went silent. Emma's head snapped up. I'm sorry. What? Emma's voice was sharp. $50 million to him. There are conditions, Margaret repeated. And there's a letter from Linda that explains her reasoning. She asked that we watch this together. She pulled out a laptop and turned it toward us. I don't want to watch anything, Emma said. This is insane. He stole from her company. He went to prison and she's giving him $50 million. Emma. Daniel's voice was gentle. Your mother was very specific about this. She wanted you to understand. Understand what? That she forgave the man who destroyed everything. Margaret pressed play. Linda appeared on the screen. The video was recent, maybe a few months ago. She was thin, wearing a silk scarf around her head. No hair. The chemo had taken it. Emma David. Her voice was hoarse but steady. If you're watching this, I'm gone and you're probably confused. Maybe angry, Emma, because I know you on the screen. Linda smiled slightly. I need to tell you both something I should have said 12 years ago. David, you didn't steal from Vertex. I know you didn't because I know who did. Emma made a small sound. James Chen embezzled $3 million. You both know that part. What you don't know is that I knew he was doing it. I found out in July 2013, 3 months before I told David, my hands clenched on the table. I confronted James. He begged me not to report it. He said he'd taken the money to pay for his daughter's cancer treatment. Said he'd pay it back, and I believed him. Linda's face tightened. I was stupid and arrogant, and I thought I could fix it quietly. I thought I could protect the company, protect the IPO, protect all of you. Oh God, Emma whispered. But James didn't pay it back. He took more. And when the SEC started investigating, he ran. I panicked. Linda looked directly at the camera. David, when you came home that day, when I showed you the spreadsheets, I'd already made a decision. I was going to let you take the fall. I couldn't breathe. The contracts had your signature, your authorization. The SEC would believe you did it, and if you went to prison, the company might survive. The IPO might still happen. Emma's future would be secure. A tear ran down Linda's face. I told myself I didn't have a choice, that sacrificing you was the only way to save everything else. Emma was crying now. Silent tears streaming down her face. But you surprised me, David, when you took the plea deal. When you told the SEC it was all you, no co-conspirators, nothing about James or me. I realized something. You knew. You knew I was lying. You knew I'd set you up, and you took the fall anyway. No, I said out loud. Linda, no. I told you I'd take care of Emma, and you believed me. You trusted me to do the right thing while you did the most wrong thing imaginable. You went to prison for a crime you didn't commit to protect us. Linda wiped her eyes. I kept that company alive, David. We IPO'd 6 months after you were sentenced. We became everything I dreamed, and every single day, I knew it was built on your sacrifice, on your silence. She looked down at her hands. I couldn't tell you, Emma. If I'd admitted what really happened, I'd have lost everything. The company, my reputation, possibly my freedom. And I told myself that David had made his choice, that he wanted to protect you, that this was what he wanted. But it wasn't a choice, Linda continued. It was a trap, I said, and I let you walk into it. She looked back at the camera. David, the $50 million is what you should have made from the IPO. It's your share of Vertex calculated from your original equity position. It's not payment. It's not forgiveness. It's what you earned and what I stole from you. Emma sobbed once, covering her mouth. I've spent 12 years lying to our daughter about who you are. I told her you were greedy, that you'd betrayed us, that you deserved everything you got. Because if she hated you, she wouldn't ask questions. She wouldn't wonder why you never defended yourself. She wouldn't realize that her mother was a coward who let an innocent man go to prison. Linda looked exhausted. Emma, your father is the best man I've ever known. He's made mistakes, but taking money from Vertex wasn't one of them. His only crime was loving us enough to let us think the worst of him. She paused. There's evidence in this package. Margaret has it all. Bank records, emails, everything that proves James took the money and that I knew. David, you can take this to a lawyer. Get your conviction overturned. Clear your name. It's all there. And Emma. Linda's voice broke. I hope someday you can forgive me. I hope you can forgive your father for the lie we both told you. But more than anything, I hope you two can find each other again, because I took 12 years from both of you and I can't give them back. The video ended. The room was silent except for Emma's crying. Margaret quietly pushed a box across the table. This contains all the evidence Linda mentioned. Bank records showing transfers from James Chen's accounts. Emails between Linda and James. Records of James' daughter's medical bills. Everything. Daniel cleared his throat. I've reviewed these documents. They're authentic. Linda sent me copies 6 months ago when she knew the cancer was terminal. I couldn't speak. My hands were shaking. Emma stood up abruptly, walked to the window. Her shoulders shook. I need a minute, she said. Of course, Margaret said. Take your time. I sat there staring at the box. 12 years. She'd known for 12 years and never said anything. I'd lost 5 years of my life, my career, my daughter, and Linda had known. But she'd also done exactly what I'd hoped she would. She'd kept Emma safe. She'd built something lasting. And in the end, she'd told the truth. I stood up slowly and walked to where Emma stood at the window. She didn't turn around. Emma, I said quietly. I'm sorry. She shook her head. You're sorry. You're sorry. She turned, her face red and wet. You let me hate you for 12 years. You let me think you were a criminal. You were 16. You needed to be angry at someone. I needed my father. Her voice broke. I needed you and you were gone. And Mom told me it was your fault. She said you chose money over us. She was trying to protect you by lying, by making me hate you. Emma wiped her face angrily. I have 12 years of birthdays. You missed graduations. My first job, everything. And you just let me think you didn't care. I sent letters. I know. Mom saved them. She laughed bitterly in a box in her closet. Every single one. I found them when we were cleaning out her house. Birthdays, Christmas, just random Tuesday letters. You never stopped. I couldn't, I said. You're my daughter. Emma looked at me. Really looked at me for the first time since I'd walked into the room. I don't know who you are anymore. I don't know how to... She gestured helplessly between us. I know. Do you? Do you know what it's like to find out your entire life is based on a lie? That your mother wasn't who you thought she was. That your father isn't a criminal, but you spent 12 years thinking he was. No, I said honestly. I don't know what that's like. She turned back to the window. I don't know if I can forgive her or you or any of this. You don't have to. She left you 50 million like that makes up for it. It doesn't. I said nothing does. But Emma, your mother did what she thought she had to do, and I did what I thought I had to do. We both wanted the same thing. We wanted you to be okay. Well, I'm not okay. She turned to face me again. I'm really, really not okay. I know. We stood there in silence. Through the window, I could see the Manhattan skyline glittering in the morning sun. Somewhere out there was my small apartment in Queens. Somewhere was the life I'd built from nothing. And here was my daughter, a stranger who looked like her mother who'd grown up thinking the worst of me. I have 12 years to make up for, Emma said finally. If that's even possible. We both do. I don't know where to start. I thought about that. Thought about all the things I wanted to say, all the explanations and apologies and justifications, but none of it mattered as much as this moment. How about coffee? I said, there's a place on the corner. We could talk or not talk, whatever you want. Emma looked at me for a long moment. Just coffee, just coffee. No big reconciliation scene. No crying and hugging. If that's not what you want, then no. She nodded slowly. Okay, I can do coffee. We walked back to the table. Margaret was organizing papers. Daniel stood and put a hand on my shoulder. For what it's worth, David, I never believed you did it. Then why didn't you say something? Linda asked me not to. Said it would make things worse. He looked at Emma. Your mother carried a lot of guilt. I think this was her way of setting things right. Emma picked up her bag. I'll need time to process all of this. Of course, Margaret said. Take whatever time you need. The legal issues around David's conviction will take months to resolve. But the evidence is solid. Emma looked at me. Are you going to clear your name? I don't know. What would you want me to do? She shook her head. It's not my choice. It's yours. Then I'll think about it. We walked out together, taking the elevator down in silence. The coffee shop was small, crowded with the lunch rush starting. We got a table by the window. "I take it black," Emma said when the waiter came. "Me too." Mom always loaded hers with cream and sugar, I remember. Emma looked down at her hands. "She talked about you sometimes. At the end, when she was sick, she'd get confused with the medication, and she'd forget you weren't there. She'd ask me to call you. Tell you dinner was ready. I'm sorry I wasn't there." "Are you really, after what she did?" I thought about that. Yes, because she was alone, and because whatever happened between us, I loved her once. We made you together. That means something. Emma's eyes filled with tears again. "I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to have a father again. We'll figure it out," I said. "One coffee at a time." The waiter brought our coffee. We sat there as the city moved around us. Two strangers trying to find their way back to something that might have been family. Once upon a time. It wasn't forgiveness yet. It wasn't reconciliation. But it was a beginning. And maybe that was